Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Talks with My Dude podcast. I'm your host, Nick, my dude. Today, I have one special guest, Dinopillow. How are you doing today, Dinopillow?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. I'm going to call you Dino for short. Is that okay?
Yeah,
Awesome. Now, for any of you who don't know, I have known Dinopillow for, I want to say 10 years almost, at least 9. Because
feels like it's
we,
been 10.
because I know we played some Halo 5 very briefly together,
Mm-hmm.
and MCC had either just come out or was still like on the circuit.
Oh, that makes me feel old.
A Halo MCC anniversary this year. Aren't you so excited?
I didn't even know about it, to be honest.
It's not real, but I keep telling people it's real and seeing
Oh my God,
whose
stop.
bones creak the loudest.
Yeah.
So talking about like gaming history and stuff. So when I first ran into you, you were playing I think Fortnite and then a lot of League.
Gosh.
A lot of League was, but it was a lot of Fortnite and League. What was your kind of like the first big game you kind of got into with your gaming history?
Yeah, I actually have a really fun intro to video games because like obviously I played them when I was like a teenager and stuff and like went to friend's house, got to play GoldenEye. That doesn't age me appropriately. Um, but I definitely I had a friend who went to college at Ohio State, and then I had a group of friends that I had locally that were like, "Hey, we're going up to Columbus for a video game thing," and I was like, "Oh, my best friend goes to Ohio State. Can I like catch a ride?" They're like, "Yeah," and so we went up there and. We had no idea what they were doing, and so I was just out partying with my friend, and we were like, "Oh, we should go check out that video game thing they talked about." And that's how I ended up at MLG Columbus 2009 and learned about competitive Halo. And it was such a wild way to kind of be introduced to like that kind of video game, right? Like playing not just playing with your friends, but playing at a very serious competitive level with friends, right? This was like the dawn of esports. And so I went home and bought an Xbox and I started playing Halo. And that kind of launched me into essentially a decade of friendship, content creation, streaming, all of it.
That is actually probably the greatest origin story I've ever
Yeah,
heard for somebody getting into Halo. How'd you get into Halo?
it
MLG. Literally
yeah, like
MLG land.
yeah. I watched like a Halo 3 MLG tournament, right? Like that was back when they had the bleacher seatings. If you ever look up really old
Yeah.
images. Yeah, so you would basically like line up to get into main stage. And then once you got into main stage, you didn't leave for the whole day or else you were going to lose your seat. And they would just line people up on the floor and stuff. So you would be like 3 feet away from like Ogre 2, who's got his shoes off, right? And you're basically watching his screen with him because you can kind of see around the setup. Like it was crazy how just like intimate that entire timeline felt because of how small it was. And also just because like it hadn't really gotten to the point where they were like, oh, we really need to worry about like, hearing what the audience can hear. Because that was back when they had 3 different screens. So like red team, you would get to see everyone's viewpoints, and then they'd have a main screen, and then blue team would have 4 screens behind them. So you're watching all POVs at once. So that also meant that people were seeing things at different times, right? So it was a really cool way to watch Halo, but it also meant that people were always reacting to different things based off of who was watching which screen, which also kind of led to like a giving things away.
Yeah, the
Um,
infamous ooh when somebody's about to get
yeah, yeah, yeah,
backsnacked.
yeah. When someone's sneaking up, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, being there for all of those moments was really cool and was definitely the coolest way to kind of get into games.
Yeah, I think my intro to games was my mom's significant other at the time had an N64 and I played a racing shooter game called Vigilante 7 or something. So
Oh,
you were just
Vigilante
driving around
8
8. Yeah, Vigilante
was
8.
amazing.
Yeah, that game was so sick. I would drive around and just battle people. I didn't know what the story was. I didn't know how to do anything other
I don't
than
think it had a story.
I'm sure it had like missions, but I was like, I'm just gonna
Oh,
drive around and I'm gonna
probably.
shoot somebody. Pew pew. That was my first like game, but my introduction to Halo was I was playing Halo 1 on the original
Hmm.
Xbox, and I don't know why, but I couldn't get past the so you go through like the first like run part of the first mission, and then Captain Keeps gives you his gun, and then I got the gun and I couldn't move anymore. I was too scared. as a younger guy. I was just like, I can't do it.
You know what's really funny is that I played so much Halo, and I don't think I actually played the Halo story until it might have been like 2014. I actually
Oh
started
wow,
playing the like main story, like the actual like. Here I was, just like playing Halo all the time. I was like, "What are you doing playing Halo?" And you're like, "I don't know anything about the story, like not a single thing."
that's so funny. I think that's like actually, funnily enough, like a very common like
Yeah,
competitor thing. I've heard multiple pros be like, yeah,
but
I've
it's
never
also
played
weird.
the story.
Well, it's weird because like for Call of Duty, that kind of made sense just because like there wasn't like a lot of continuity, right? When you're switching between the different like Call of Duty games, they seemed very like insular on their like plots as far as what little I know about Call of Duty main
Especially
stories.
the older
But
ones. The older ones for sure.
yeah, but like with like Halo was like an entire universe and like a beautifully made one. And you know, people loved those stories and found them interesting and they like spawned all kinds of things and I just for some reason was like I just know how to hang out with my friends online.
I want to four shot people. I don't want to save the
Yeah.
universe.
You're
I want
like,
to.
sorry, I
I
don't
want to get
have
my
time
50.
for any of these things. Yeah. There was a long time where people would make like Halo jokes or like reference like things about Master Chief and Cortana, and I'd be like, nope, that means
No,
nothing
nope,
here.
nope. I think it's less common amongst the pros now because a lot of
Hmm.
them more grew up on it, on like playing the
Yeah.
story and stuff. But I don't think it's. I still think it's more common amongst like the pros to like, like, what's your favorite mission in Halo One? And they're like the first one. That's the only
They're
one I
like, I don't
played or
know.
something. Or like, how many? Or they'll name a mission from a different game. And you're like, okay,
They're like, you did your best, I guess.
yeah. So when you were kind of getting into the MLG space, is that when you decided you like wanted to make content, or is that did you compete for a while first and then kind of grew into making content?
Yeah, because especially back then, like the accessibility of content creation tools was minimal, right? Like, what was the old capture card
On
called? Like a
unregistered.
Dazzle?
Oh yeah. I was gonna say unregistered hypercam to Fraps
Yeah.
99.
Yeah, like getting the things that you needed was difficult. That was back when obviously Ninja first started, back on Justin TV, and
Good old Ninja.
what was it? They called it the LAN network, which was
Mm-hmm. The LAN
someone's
network.
dad, yeah, set up all the Halo pros in their house, and they would stream the basement and all their cameras, and they would do scrims and stuff. So like content creation kind of felt like a natural progression, just because like it was really the like you know when you're at the beginning of all of that and watching content being made and going, that looks fun, I want to do it too. And
Mm-hmm.
really, it was just kind of the barrier of entry that I think anybody finds now, which is mostly just like, can I money, right? Do I have the money? Do I have the time? And but once I got to the point where I could render on a laptop, I did start making content, right? Because it was fun. You know, you're spending all this time playing games online with your friends, you're getting clips, you're deciding to make content about like, oh, like here's the coolest sniper spots and here's how to do this. And it was just kind of like it felt normal to do that in addition to playing competitively because that's what everyone was doing back then.
Yeah, I think it it must be really interesting to go from like what content creation was and kind of how much more it is. Because like back then, if you
Hmm.
were posting YouTube videos or streaming to Justin TV like Ninja, it wasn't thousands or millions of people. It wasn't it wasn't an industry. It was just
Yeah,
a
it's not like
thing.
Yeah, it's not like you were gonna go viral and suddenly have like an influx of 100,000 followers, right? It was like a very slow grind within like your specific community, right? Call of Duty kids watched Phase stuff, right? Halo kids watched Ninja and like a few of the other like really big pros. And it just kind of was like you stayed in your very insular communities and it was all centered around, well, at least where I was, around the game that you played. And then you know even as Twitch and everything grew, you know you got League, you got StarCraft. Again, people are very much watching that game get played because they're watching not only for entertainment but to get better at that game. And it's good to see that content creation kind of moved into so many other spaces to include so many other stories and interesting topics. But back
Yeah.
then it was really very much a, I'm selling the product of myself playing this game. And you're either good at the game and that's why people watch you, or you're funny and that's why people watch you, or maybe you're both.
And now people make content, and instead of selling themselves as a product, game companies are going to them to sell their products. Because it used to be like game companies just kind of acknowledge the existence of streamers, but
Hmm.
now like they're much more involved. Like Call of Duty every year flies out, I don't know, more than 100 content creators, I think. Like Call of Duty
Yeah.
Next, and just like all they do is stream. So that's really I think that's probably really interesting to have seen, to be a part of, like, maybe not it's the inception of content creation, but at least the very early days, and to see like now people are being paid to make content. Like that's their
Yeah,
job.
it's definitely different, right? Because obviously there was like celebrity influencers, like 10, 15 years ago. But to really watch like gamers, like I think when Red Bull first started sponsoring people, or like when Dr. Pepper and
T squared.
yeah, totally. Yeah, when T-Skirt was on Dr. Pepper cans, or when Old Spice was showing commercials, right? Like it's always really interesting when the gamer sphere gets acknowledged by like non-gaming things, right? Red Bull made sense. Even Dr. Pepper made sense. Like Doritos, the
Hot
Hot Pockets.
pockets.
Yeah, all of that made sense. But then it's like now you watch League of Legends, like Pro League, and they've got the State Farm analyst desk, and you're like, State Farm?
That just I think shows how much money is in games. But yeah, State Farm. I need them to
Yeah.
have Jake from State Farm.
Yeah, or like I think Kia sponsors the LCS, and you're like, it's
Mhm.
really funny because like obviously they're like targeting markets of gamers as they're getting older, right? You have a house, you have a car, like you're entering markets that before they only kind of saw you as a gremlin inside of someone's basement eating Doritos and drinking Dr. Pepper. Now they're like, hey, that guy owns a house.
That guy
He
is
needs
still
home
in the
insurance.
base. That guy is still in his basement eating Doritos, drinking Dr Pepper, but he needs a car.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Ninja's in his soundproof gaming setup inside of his basement, but he still needs snacks.
Exactly.
But it's cool to see how everything has changed and evolved, as well as kind of like the transparency on like the difficulties of content creation and just like the amount of like time, energy, money, and all of that. So it's great to see how much it paid off for people. It didn't really like, I mean, it paid off for me in other ways, which is one of those things that kind of like as I got older, it kind of came harder to grapple with because I loved gaming and I loved content creation. But when you're putting so much time into a hobby and then that hobby starts to be monetized, and then you can only kind of see how you can continue being monetized, you end up sometimes in boxes you don't want to be in. And then you have to go, do I walk away from money? Do I even want to make money off of my hobbies? And I think that's one of those conversations that comes up more and more now that I see, and I'm glad that people talk about that because gaming is a wonderful place to like meet friends and create like these lifelong bonds, right? When you sit here and go, yeah, we've known each other for 10 years, and you're like, that's all through game. um and it was only because I was creating content. And so I love that it gives so much, even at the same time that it can also be really difficult.
Yeah, I think 10 years ago again, like when I was watching you stream League or Fortnite or whatever game you're streaming, it never I don't think I understood at the time because I never really wanted to make content when I was younger. I was Anybody who's talked to me outside of listening to me on a podcast knows that I'm still like not a super outgoing all the time person. 10 years ago, I was asking Dinopillow here if I could join open voice calls in a DM before I joined. I was so nervous to like talk to people.
I forgot
Uh,
about that.
Trust me, it's like core memory. I think about that a
Yeah.
lot.
Well,
But
it's also like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, I was just saying, and it's just now that I'm making it, I think I understand, like, can appreciate more, like, because there's like all this effort. Like, you have to plan stuff. You can't. I used to think, oh, you just hit the go live button. But if you wanted to like present like a product or do something that you would consider like something you made, it takes more to put into it. Like I have to think about my audio levels, my
Mhm.
audio
Mhm.
quality, what bit rate do I want to stream at, what games do I want to stream, do I need to do anything special for those? So I think it's interesting to see. It's a good thing that there's more of that recognition that you were talking
Yeah, it's
about.
also, yeah, there's just so many more tools that are accessible. And like, I love seeing what content people make now. Like, I watch some girl on TikTok who just makes little polymer clay octopuses, and it's the most niche content I've ever seen. But it's just fun. You're like, this was your thing even before the internet, and now you're on the internet making it, and then people enjoy it and they have fun with it. And then you get to make all these different little things out of polymer clay. And I don't know shit about polymer clay. And it's just like it's like that. I can't believe that that's what I'm spending my time doing when I used to like spend like 8 hours creating like Call of Duty content. I cut Titanfall, Halo, League.
Hmm.
When we played through all of Fate, like it's weird to see like the kind of content I created versus the kind of content that I like consume, and just a kind of variety that we get now, even if it is kind of like I have way too much screen time, right?
Yeah, I never saw myself making a podcast and like
I
doing this, but I was like, it's fun. I enjoy talking to people. Here's an excuse for me to talk to the people I want to talk to more. And maybe we can have some fun conversations for other people to enjoy along the way.
I do like talks with my dude. I can't
It's
remember which one that I listened
interesting.
to that I just giggled the entire time, and because it just feels like you're hanging out with friends, and like that was the whole original appeal of Twitch, right? Is that a lot of the times that, especially, I remember the year that I lost my job and I had to move back in with my parents, like that was really rough, and I watched a lot of Ninja, which is like,
As one does when they need a
as
pick me up.
yeah, because like it was just one of those things that like I just put streams on during the day because it just made me feel less alone. And when you don't have the energy to like hang out with your own friends or to like be around other people, but you still want to like be in a group setting, it's kind of like being in a bar without having someone look at you and be like, "Why are you quiet in the corner?" Because it doesn't matter. No one cares that you're lurking, right? And like
Exactly.
that was like the best part about Twitch was being able to just go and be a part of someone else's friend group for a little bit and laugh at their jokes and then like see the chat also laughing at their jokes and just kind of feeling a part of something and then being like, yeah, this is really cool, and then go about my life in other ways. And the fun part about content creation was that I got to be that place for other people. And then I just kind of got to the point where I didn't want to be that place for other people. And not because I didn't enjoy doing that. It was just being able to not be on, right? To be
Right.
able to like control when I was putting out content. Like I think that's why podcasts are so nice because you're gonna come on here and we're gonna talk for an hour, and then we'll go back to being not, I guess, on.
Yeah, we cut it off and we're just like chilling. Like it's not.
Yeah, yeah. I could talk about life. I don't have to worry about like someone saying something accidentally that's like not problematic, but like suddenly dropping where I live or where I work or asking about my mom, and you're like, we can't talk about that. We're streaming. And
Yeah,
like not having to worry about all that kind of stuff is just nice when you like hanging out with your friends and it not being a public spectacle. It's kind of like private life versus personal life, or I guess personal life versus public life. Yeah, because like Twitch is public, even if there's only 10 people in there, it's still public. So like having your public out facing versus being able to play games privately with your friends.
right. Is that kind of what led to you, among other things, like taking that step back? Because you kind of talked about it just briefly there, that you didn't want to be that like thing,
Yeah,
not like thing, but like this place for people to gather. You just wanted to chill with your games. Is kind of the vibe I was getting, but I'll let you
right.
explain.
I think with content creation, especially if you're trying to do it seriously and you're trying to be successful and like make it like your career, you run that risk of burnout if you don't, I guess, pop off at some point or get lucky. Because a lot of it does have to do with luck or having a kind of product that's not just you. Because if the product is you and you're not getting followers or you're not growing and you're kind of feeling stagnant, it's hard to not feel like it's you, right? You're like, why don't people like me? And that kind
All
of
of my
sounds, I
friends like
guess,
me.
yeah. And it kind of sounds like cringy to think about it that way, to be like, oh, people don't like me. But like when you're streaming, 20, 30 hours a week in your like free time, and I mean, 10 people are a lot, right? I'm not going to sit there and be like 10 people aren't a lot, or like 30 people or 50 or 100, right? That's a lot of people. Even one person's a lot of people, right? You
Hmm.
should be proud of any kind of success that you see with that someone chose you. When there's all this other content out there, right? Someone chose you. Um but it's hard to not sit there and be like, am I wasting something? Could I be doing something more productive? And like obviously that's the capitalism seeping in because
Hmm.
your free time
To
doesn't
always
need to
be
be
grinding.
productive. Yeah.
I hate grind.
Me
The
about
always
the
be grinding
grind.
culture. Yeah, I hate that. I hate
Yeah.
the monetize your hobbies because I'm over here building my
No.
Gundams, and I'm like, there's always
Yeah.
that little voice in the back of my head. It's like, how do I, what could I be doing instead of this that could make me a millionaire? And I'm like, I'd rather just build my Gundam.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is that when content creation becomes focused on money, you'll lose any bit of love that you have for it. And that when content remains a hobby, you'll be fine. And that was a problem that I hit, was that I couldn't just have it wasn't just a hobby for me. And then I finally did turn it into a hobby, and that was when we started doing our Fate Stay Night playthrough, which is still all on YouTube. If anybody wants to watch Jake and
Would
I
you?
play through
I'm gonna link
all
it.
of Fate Stay Night. Yeah, that was on our brief stint on Taco Taco Time, which was our little VTuber stuff. But like that was fun because all we did was get together once a week and play a game that we were genuinely interested in. And then it was very easy to just kind of turn around that content and put it on YouTube and not have to like put like hours of editing into it and stuff. And it was probably the first time in a long time that I was making content that I genuinely enjoyed and was proud of because I had finally put boundaries. And so I guess the main takeaway here that I have for anyone who's interested in content creation is that figure out what you want to get out of it and know that like the journey can be rough and rewarding, but definitely pursue it and know when you need to walk away.
I think that's pretty good advice. I've had several guests on who have said like they struggled with like watching the viewer count or
Mhm.
checking analytics too often, and I was like, look,
Yeah.
like you guys have you're doing your other career stuff. If you want content to be your career or like you want to make money off content, you have to. It's a weird thing of like the second you take it too seriously, it also isn't fun. It's not
Mhm.
fun to make, and it's also a little less fun to watch because you're not having as much fun.
Yeah, I try to tell people like how often do you go to your job and you're just like 50% effort on it, right? And like
More often
most of
than
us
I would
have
like to admit.
yeah, most of us have jobs where we can put in 50% effort and we're still going to get paid at the end of the day. But with streaming, like that's not the case. You know, you spend
Hmm.
too little time not talking. Maybe the content's boring. You walk away from your screen for a little bit because you got to go pee and make a snack. Like, and then suddenly like five people leave because everyone's got attention spans of 5-year-old. So it's like the stakes are much different, and making it your job means that you have to like you're an entertainer, and that's really difficult. And I think that difficulty is kind of it has been acknowledged, but needs to be acknowledged as much as humanly possible. Like you're an
Exactly.
entertainer, and being on for 4, 5, 7 hours is tough.
It is. If you ever want to know why it's so tough, just go talk for seven
Yeah,
hours, and now talk and try to be funny to other people for 7 hours is completely different.
yeah,
And it's both overblown how hard it is and like undersold how hard it is at the same time. I don't know how to explain it other than that, but I see people saying it's like the hardest thing that anyone has ever done ever, but also it's also the easiest thing ever because you just hit the go live button. So it's a weird split of like some people think it's way harder than I think it really is, but it is still very difficult. But some people think it's like
probably
super easy. So there's like this
it's
it's somewhere in the middle.
yeah. I guess how naturally funny do you find yourself?
How naturally how much energy you draw just talking into the void is kind of like where the difficulty meter is because I don't enjoy talking into the void all that much, so I don't stream that much.
It's tough. It's tough to just sit there and talk to yourself and just
Yeah,
know that maybe people are lurking and that they think you're funny. But sometimes it's nice when someone throws an LOL in the chat and you go, "Oh, thank God."
oh thank God I'm not alone.
Yeah, like how much do you enjoy your own company? And would you rather be doing something else than recording it live for
Yeah,
other people?
that's why I always talk about building my Gundams because I'm like, am I really feeling like streaming right now, or do I just want to build a Gundam? And then I go build a Gundam like
Mhm.
30
Mhm.
35% of the time. But moving away from like content creation, uh, one of the things that we've both kind of really bonded over is anime and kind of anime in general, but also like specific anime.
Mhm.
Uh, So first off, I know the answer to this, and anybody who has seen the Dinopillow Twitter or Blue Sky now knows. What is your favorite anime genre?
I love sports animes.
Let's go. What would you say?
I
Like,
think. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just say like, so it's like sports anime, and then like, what's your like next two? Just so we're.
Oh, I wrote these down. I really like any sort of like detective sci-fi stuff, right?
Mhm.
And maybe not like modern day detectives, but like anything that's kind of got like any sci-fi fantasy elements to it. And then after that, I'm probably watching romance.
I just in my head that meme of the Alchemist where the two guys like grasp hands and like flex real hard.
Yeah, is that
That's what
us?
off in my head. I'm not so much into the detective stuff as much, but I'm like, I think my number one would be like, I mean, admitted I enjoy romance anime a lot. It's usually it's usually my go-to, and then it's like sports or like action.
hmm
So I always go your sports anime list is what I go to when I'm feeling your sports anime. I'm
Yeah,
like, okay, which one off of this list am I gonna watch? Uh,
yeah. For anyone who has not seen me on the internet, I've watched 50 sports animes and I have them ranked as objectively as I can, based on their quality. But gosh, there's so many of them that I think most of the top 30 I would recommend to people, and the other ones, it would really depend. But like, gosh, there's just so much good sports stuff out there. So if you're ever interested,
if you really like
uh,
tournament style next challenger type anime, sports anime is for you. You will enjoy them.
I think my favorite thing about like the whole reason I got into sports anime was because one, I watched Kuroko's Basketball, which was sold to me as being a basketball anime with superpowers, which it is, and
It
it was
is.
it was so sick,
It's the
and
best.
I loved it
It's my
so
favorite.
much. But also there's like this element to sports animes that I think is fun because usually with like action adventure, when you kind of get introduced to the plot, you kind of know how it's going to end, right? Like in Demon
Mm-hmm.
Slayer, we meet the main character and then we meet the bad guy and we know exactly how this is going to end, but we're not there for the end, we're there for the story. The fun part about sports animes is that you don't know how it's going to end. And you think they're going to win, but they don't always win. And even if they win like the final tournament, like the things that happen in between, because you'll have multiple different tournaments, or especially with Ace of Diamond, which is the baseball anime, you're following four different pitchers on one team. In which case, that means that they get benched, and in baseball, once you're benched, you're done. You're not going back
Mm-hmm.
out there,
Yeah,
right?
you're
This
done.
isn't a time to clear your head and get to go back out. Like you pull
Did
them
you
off
do
the
enough?
mound, yeah, you're done. And so you get to watch these like characters go through these moments that like are really defining because it doesn't I guess like the beef that I have with a lot of action adventures because we make these really big bad bosses and then we obviously introduce characters that can't fight them and so we have to get to the point where we can fight them.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually you're going to have to meet the boss along the way and then you'll meet the boss and the boss will go, you're not strong enough yet. I only want to beat you, and it's satisfying. And then they walk away from the fight, and it's
Yeah.
so stupid. And I get why they do it, but it's like one of the most frustrating tropes about some of these, like, especially like Naruto and some other stuff, that you're like, I hate that we had to walk away, but I also understand for plot reasons why we had to do it this way. And like, but when you're essentially having to fight someone who's the equivalent of God, and then you kind of get just Joe Schmo off the street, right? Like
Yeah.
I know we
Mm-hmm.
have to get there, but like sometimes the way we get there can be filled with really frustrating tropes. And sports animes just introduce your best players, and then they're I mean, they might be on the level of God if you're watching Kirk's basketball,
Oh man, dude, I love that show
but
so
like
much, but it's so stupid sometimes.
God. But for like all the other ones, right? Like Haikyuu and like Chihayafuru and like Ping Pong the animation, like these are just like they're very skilled, but like it's an obtainable level of skill. So when you kind of have these shows that are not only grounded in realism, but also are grounded in like watching a character go through all of that hard work, and then you get to watch the payoff of that hard work, or the inverse, get to watch them get absolutely shit stomped, like it is emotionally devastating. I've spent more time on my like living room floor crying over sports animes than like anything else. So I think that if you are really interested in captivating storytelling and just kind of being thrown into these worlds where, like, yeah, we're taking this sport in high school very seriously, then yeah, just buy into it. You'll love it, I promise.
Sports anime is also just really fucking hype. Like I don't, there's nothing else I could say. They come down to
Most of
like
them,
the final point or like the final 4/10 of a second, and like something's got to happen or something. It's great. I think that alone is worth selling. But
yeah, I would say the only thing that you might struggle with it is pacing, just because like once you get into games and tournament arcs, you kind of stay within the games and tournament arc, which means
yeah,
that there's no other stuff, right? You're just going from game to game to game. And there's a point in like Kuroko's Basketball Season 3 where it kind of feels like you're just watching basketball in real time, which is not to say it's a bad thing, but when like the entire 30-minute episode is just 2 quarters of basketball, you're like,
whoa,
all right. All
yeah,
right, the
you need a
next
break.
episode is going to be the next 2 quarters of basketball. You're like,
And it's not even
all right.
the next 2 quarters of basketball. It's the next quarter in like 4/5 of the
Yeah, yeah,
second
yeah.
quarter because you have to wait till the next episode for it to finish.
Right. Right, because we gotta keep leaving on fucking cliffhangers. So yeah, it's it's one of those things where like it's very enjoyable, but like sometimes you can't just like grind it out the way you would could other shows because you're just sitting there going, all right, we've just been watching this sport for so long, and I just need them to walk away for a bit and like I don't know, go to class or talk to someone's mom,
Yeah,
do
just
anything other than just
something.
play basketball. So like that's like a valid complaint that I would get from people. That's why I like we have our sci-fi detective shows and our romance, right? You got to fold in other stuff to make sure that you're not getting burnt out on watching kids try to achieve their dreams and getting their souls crushed.
Or watching that one kid who's faster than people can react at 14, and
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
hilarious. By the way, if you ever want uh, Dinopillow and I to go crazy, just talk to us about Kuroko's basketball while we're in the same room. We'll
It's
just, especially if you're like, I just finished it. Can we talk about this?
I will say as a caveat, I know a lot of people don't like it because of the superpowers. For me, I needed there to be superpowers for me to pick up a sports anime, especially when
It's
I
a very
like
good
was very
gateway.
early. Yeah, especially because I was very early on in like my anime watching, so like I needed that. But technically, only one of the moves that are done within the show is illegal in the NBA, but everything else is technically not illegal as a basketball move, even if it is defying the laws of physics.
What do you mean? You know, I love that show so much. I would talk about it more with you just because we both enjoy it so much. But I want other people to watch it and come talk to me about it so I don't spoil it.
Listen, if people want a realistic basketball, they can go watch A Hero no Sora, which is 52 episodes from season 1. It was glorious. Or if you're okay with watching older animation, you can go back to Slam Dunk. But like
Mhm.
my super powered anime basketball is still the best.
All right, this is gonna lead me into a question. I don't think I know the answer to this. I'm pretty sure I don't. But what is
Hmm.
your favorite anime?
Would we just talk about it?
Is no, I mean in general. Like overall, is Kuroko like your favorite anime? I kind of figured it was up there, but I didn't think it was your favorite.
Yeah, like if I'm like talking like top fives, like it's always gonna be number one, just because like again, it was a gateway drug for me,
Right,
right?
it's the linchpin of your anime watching, so to
Yeah, I
speak.
went on to watch 49 other sports anime.
I get that's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
And so like I would say that like it's not the best sports anime. I'll be clear, right? Like it's not the best because I definitely think there are things that do the sports anime genre way better than Kuroko's, but it's definitely my favorite. I did write down It Invaded as just kind of like another thing to talk about because I would definitely put it up there when we talk about detective sci-fi shows. This one's like
I've
pretty
watched a
wild.
little bit of that. I need to watch
Yeah.
more.
The premise is that when people leave behind like subconscious particles after like committing crimes, and so then there's these detectives that can basically use this like technology to dive into those particles to see someone's subconscious, and then they can figure out who they are so that they can find the criminals. But
Hmm.
what they're really doing is like trying to find serial killers, right? Like we're not looking for someone who's just like stolen a
Stole a,
purse,
yeah,
right?
stole a purse, stole a drink or something. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're not only watching like a series of murders throughout the show, but you're also watching these detectives trying to solve these cases by going into the minds of killers, which is very cool. But when they go into the minds of killers, one, the only people who can do it are detectives who have killed someone.
Hmm.
So you've already got that kind of barrier of entry. But two, when they go into the minds, they can't always remember themselves. They remember like this detective version of them. So it's like they are trying to solve a crime, but they don't know why they're solving it, and they can't remember the information they had before they went in. So it's like you've got all this kind of chaotic layers as they're trying to like do these criminal cases while they're actively tracking a serial killer. And it's very cool. This was something that aired a few years ago. It was trapped on Funimation, but now that Funimation and Crunchyroll have merged, it is on Crunchyroll and it is also on Hulu.
All right. Well, you guys know where to watch it.
It is very
I th-
cool.
I think I don't know if I would call this a detective show, but it's kind of in that vein. It's
Hmm.
more like thriller suspense. But it's called Erased.
Right.
This was I don't remember when it came out. It was multiple years
A
ago
while
though.
ago. At
Multiple
least a
years.
decade.
Oh, a decade? No, please.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it can't be. Oh God, no, 8 years. You're close.
Yeah.
2016. That was probably one of the first times I've watched like a detective adjacent show and been like, oh,
Hmm.
okay, this is cool. I want to watch more of this. I've really enjoyed that. So
Yeah, sometimes it's nice to take our anime and just kind of watch normal TV. Essentially, right? Like that show could have like It Invaded Our Race could have been like a just a live action TV show, right? But it was anime because it's cool to animate those kind of things. Because I think one of the questions that you'd sent me was when you were asking about like my favorite thing that was airing this season, and I wanted to talk about Orb, which is Orb on the Movements of Earth, which is set in 15th century Poland, and it's about a kid trying to prove heliocentrism, which is that
that's
the
amazing.
planets revolve around the sun, not that the sun revolves around the Earth. But obviously, he has to fight against the church, who believes that the Earth is the center of the universe.
Oh, that's awesome.
And when I saw the premise like on the upcoming seasonals, I went, no way are we doing this. And I watched the first episode and it was amazing. And then I said, okay, I'm gonna park this because I want to watch like multiple episodes in a row. So I haven't gotten back to it, but like I just love the idea that we just kind of took like a segment of history and then like
Turned it into an
dramatized it
anime.
and turned it into an anime.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's very cool.
I should find where I can watch that.
It is on Netflix.
Ooh,
Don't
I have
worry, friends, I got
Netflix.
you.
I will have to look into that then. I asked your favorite anime. I will tell my favorite anime. It's not
Hmm.
as long. It's a 12 episode. The story isn't amazing, but I love it so much. But it's Witchcraft Works. I will die on the hill that that is my favorite anime. It is. Uh, it was my. I think it might still be my Twitch PFP. Um, a character from that show. I'm gonna live check. I'm not gonna put it on screen because I'm accidentally leak something. Yeah, it's still a character from that show is still my Twitch PFP.
I think that's been your Twitch PFP the entire time I've known you.
Yeah, I have not. I don't think I've changed it in like 10 years. I think I briefly thought about changing it to my Final Fantasy character, but I didn't. Have you found? I'm gonna send it to you just in case, but this is what it
Oh, I know what it is. I
is.
distinctly remember this.
Yeah, it's been that for a long time. You made fun of me for picking characters that look very similar for stuff like building card game decks around. So this tracks.
Mm, mhm, mhm.
Yeah, I'm gonna change my PFP before this episode comes out, so nobody else can check it.
You're gonna be like, I changed it just so I could say that I changed it.
Yep, just so that nobody else can be
You
like,
know, the thing about,
yeah,
I mean, it's like, yeah, you get used to someone having the same PFP in the same place because I think that was also your Twitter PFP for a long time. So it's just kind of like that's not whoever that character is. That's Nick.
yeah. I God, when did I changed it to my Final Fantasy character also about 8 years ago
Hmm.
because I was like, And my character, I don't even think my character looks like that anymore in Final Fantasy. I just like have never updated it. I was like, this is what people know me as now. Is this? I don't know how to pronounce the name, but the dragon lady, the
Aura?
dragon lady, yeah, Aura. I always want to say Aura, but I feel like that's a different
No, there's
word.
an apostrophe in
Yeah,
there.
there's an apostrophe, so but Aura, Aura. Anyway, yeah. So if you look at that, that's like my old Final Fantasy character, and I have not changed it. I just leave it. But so we've talked about sports anime and favorite anime, including your favorite airing. Why
Hmm.
should people give? And I'm gonna just say Pretty Derby because I'm gonna butcher the rest of Uma Musume. Pretty Derby.
Best guess, Uma Musume? Musume?
Yeah.
Masumi? Probably.
Why should
Uh,
people give that a chance? Because I will have it on my list, but I know why people might not.
so to no one's surprise, Pretty Derby is a sports anime. Specifically, the premise of Pretty Derby is horses from our universe are reborn in the Pretty Derby universe as horse girls, in which case they still partake in horse racing. They do so within the Twinkle series, but within the Twinkle series, if you place first through third, you also get to put on an idol performance for the people who have come to cheer for you. So essentially, real horses have now become horse girls in their horse girl universe. They still run horse races, not people track.
Mhm.
This is horse racing. And then they are also idols. And it was the most insane premise I think I'd seen
It
when I was
still
like,
sounds insane.
well, because like obviously every season I look and see what sports animes are coming up. And I looked at this one and I said, I don't know what this is, but I have to watch it. And I did. And the first season follows a horse named Special Week. And she wants to win the Triple Crown. And she's on the quest to do that. And she goes to Horse Girl School, right, where she's with other horses and they're learning like better skills at racing and they're preparing to debut and they're also learning how to sing and dance because we got to do the whole thing. And then they're also competing within the Twinkle Series League. And it was so cute, right? And they
Hmm.
take it so seriously. And I think that that's what works for it is that it's such an insane premise, but they are so deadly serious about it, right? You're watching them cobble their shoes, eating carrots, like they'll do that same thing where like horses can get tunnel vision or they get really like scared when they're trying to enter the gate before they go and run. And it's like you're seeing all these very like horse-like things out of these girls and it feels just so absurd, but like they're deadly serious about being good at racing. And it was all to sell a gacha game, which is doing incredibly well in Japan. It is printing money. And we're finally going to get the US release sometime next year. And I'm really excited about it.
Oh
But the
yeah.
first season kind of ends on a pretty silly note because, again, it was just the anime came out, the game launched, right? It was just a 24 episode advertisement. And then
Hmm.
people played the game, in which case we got to get another season. And then they focused on different horse girls. And then we got a third season and they focused on different horse girls. And then the movie came out this year. And when people have been talking about the tragedy that is Blue Lock's animation, in retrospect, I've been seeing people posting clips from the Pretty Derby movie. And because that gacha game was printing money, the animation's insane. Like the show itself looks good, but the movie is incredible. Um,
I won't.
I watched
I might
4K
find a
footage
clip.
on YouTube the other
Oh,
day.
oh my god. I might find a
Yeah,
clip and just show people how, because I've seen like clips of it. I'm not gonna watch the movie for a while because I haven't caught up. I'm gonna watch all the stuff to watch the movie, I assume. But
yeah. Well,
I've
like you
seen
don't
like the
really.
clips and it's like gorgeous. Like it's like Fate's Day almost. It looks so good.
Yeah, you're looking at like Ufotable or Mappa, like made a horse girl
Horse-
racing anime, but it's some other studio. But like, yeah, you're looking at it and going, horse racing can't be that serious, but it is, and it is fun. And like, I literally remember one season like looking up horse diseases because I was trying to figure out if some girl wasn't going to be able to race anymore because like genetically they're still more horse than girl, and it's just like it can't be that devastating.
oh man.
Like it feels insane to sit there and be like, my horse girl idol anime is emotionally ruining me as a person because these girls are going through these like trials and tribulations. And like everyone always likes to make the joke about like, oh, if she breaks her legs, they're gonna shoot her out back. And you're like, No, but like she'll never get to race again,
And that's
and that's
sad.
still really sad. Right? And
Yeah,
because we get to go from the gotcha game to the show, back to the gotcha game to the show, right? There it's a perfect circle. You know, we get to focus on different girls every time they animate something different because obviously they want to push out you're going to get a banner, you're going to get a show, you're going to get a banner, you're going to get a show. And so it's nice that we're getting to meet so many different people. Like and when you're watching the series, they'll like show all these you'll see all these horse girls in like the distance and they'll still put their names next to everybody.
that's
Like
cool.
you're gonna find your fan,
Your
and like,
favorite.
yeah, like my favorite horse girls aren't even the ones that are like the quote unquote main characters of every season, right? They're like these background girls. Like there's one, her name's Twin Turbo. She has shark teeth. They gave a horse girl shark teeth.
That's great.
She is a pure gremlin, and she's lovely. But it just feels so silly to like have these just like really good sports anime storylines hidden within the most ridiculous premise ever. And then on top of that, like you've got this absolutely cooking animation. You're like, what more could I want? And the answer is the game to be available in the US, and I'm finally getting
So
that.
you could spend money on it. That's so funny. That reminds me,
Yeah.
I took a shot in the dark one year. I don't know if it was last year. It was
It was last year.
recently.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I took a shot. I was like, I know you like this show. You've tweeted about these characters. I think this is one of them. And I just bought I don't even remember what it was. I think it was a
Yeah,
sweater.
yeah, yeah. It was a you gave
Or
me it's a car peeker for special week. She's the main
that
horse
one I
girl from
knew.
season 1.
Yeah.
And then the shirt you bought me was from it's like a shirt that has the Twinkle series on the back, but it was from the most recent season. It was really cool. When you sent it, I looked at it and I was like, is this a pretty derby t-shirt?
Because I didn't want to get when I try to buy people gifts. And if you're on my gifts list, I do this for everybody. I try to find something that is up your alley. Is like, for example, pretty derby, but is also like you're gonna want to wear it in public.
Yeah, no, I wear this shirt all the time. No one can tell. No, it doesn't look like
It
an
took
anime
me
t-shirt.
it took me a couple times to be like, is this a shirt for pretty derby? It took me a little bit.
No, because even when I looked at it, I spent a long time going, okay, what? Because I at first I was like Fate, and I was like Yu-Gi-Oh, and I was like no, and then it finally was like I looked and read more on the T-shirt, I was like, this is my horse girl T-shirt, but it's not just like horse girl splayed all over the front, right? Where the people look
Yeah,
at me like, what is that? They're
yeah.
like, don't look
That
at me.
was yeah. That was my goal. That was my goal. Is like get you something wearable. That is also your up your alley.
Yeah, I like having low key anime merch T-shirts when I walk around, especially after I got a bunch of anime tattoos.
Yeah, that's great.
They're like,
But
you guys
also
can't tell what this shirt is, can you? And they're like, don't look
no,
at my legs.
don't look at all the anime. Oh man, you mentioned it briefly, but because I know like Blue Lock season one was like this big deal because it was like it looked really good. It was
Hmm.
really interesting to people, and Japan was doing like really good in the World Cup. So
Yeah.
like people were like freaking out, and apparently, and I never really got into it. But apparently season two has been like horrible in terms of animation. I've seen some clips where it literally looks like they just clicked and dragged the soccer ball around.
Yeah. So for anyone not informed about Blue Lock, it's essentially so he wrote a battle royale style sports anime, which is really cool. So the premise is that Japan's trying to find the best striker, and then they're going to build a team around said striker because they think that something about not being aggressive enough. We need people who are selfish. We need to make sure that we have someone who is only determined to get goals. So they like get like 200 strikers from like all the high schools in Japan and put them in a building called Blue Lock and then have them compete against each other with the idea that one of them is going to be the best and come out the best. And so it's cool because instead of having these really long tournament arcs where you're fighting like other teams, you're like constantly shuffling the players that you have onto different teams and putting them in different like scenarios and then having them play. So like you get a bunch of like smaller little arcs and like mini tournaments, which is really cool because it kind of helps with like the pacing issue on a lot of sports stuff because you get the downtime between the games and stuff, while also getting to meet all of these different players within the building and getting your own favorite, right? So season one really focused on just introducing the people and the concept, and had really wild soccer, right? And obviously by season two, the all the guys that are in the building should be getting better, and they do. And animation did not did not get
Yeah,
better. It definitely looks a lot like it doesn't have the budget that it does, which is weird. Because I've definitely watched some pretty bad animated sports stuff, but usually what they'll do is they'll just kind of like cheat the animation where you'll just stay focused on their faces, right? You won't show like people moving or their
yeah,
legs.
like a
But even
crossover in
this,
basketball or something.
yeah, like you won't really see those moments anyway, because like a lot of the time they're like really thinking about what they're doing. They're like breaking down exactly how they're thinking, because that's the cool part about it is them going, oh, he's going to do this and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this and then he's going to do this, and you're like, okay, and now we watch it, and then season 2 you don't get to the watch part. So like you get to watch them think about all of the things they're going to do, and then you don't get to ever have the kind of payoff, and I think that that's what really is upsetting for people, because even if the animation wasn't that great, if it was kind of executed differently, I could see people being fine with it being like meh. um but it's just kind of,
Especially after season one showed like they had it right, like they had the here's the think
yeah,
about,
it
here's
is
the
like
payoff, and now they're taking.
it,
You're saying like they've taken that the payoff of seeing it away.
hmm and I also haven't kept up much with like the rest of season. I've only watched like the first, I think, 7 or 8 episodes of season 2, so like it could be that it has gotten better. But it's also one of those things where it's just kind of like, for the amount of marketing and everything that they've had for it, it feels really weird to not be like
Stellar,
executing a product that feels good. Like even if
yeah,
it's
to not
not
have
like
something
perfect,
stellar.
yeah. You don't have to look like Demon Slayer to be a good anime, right? You can like, I mean, again, like what Haikyuu and Kuroko started like 10 years ago and they still look really good.
Yeah,
So
they
I
still look
don't,
great actually,
yeah. Yeah, they both aged really well. So it's weird to see something that's coming out in 2024 look this poor. Um,
especially with it so much hype around it. Considering like at the time, like I said, like Japan was doing well in the World Cup, and there there seems to be a lot more pride around their like I'm seeing more about their soccer team every year. So the fact that like this anime that was highlighting soccer had this super awesome animation in the first season, and it kind of
yeah,
tanked in the second. It's just weird. It's just weird.
it also has that same thing that like Kurko's did for me, right? It had a premise revolving around sports that I think gets people into a sports anime that normally wouldn't watch it. Like the
Mm-hmm.
battle royale aspect of it gets other people interested. And so you've got this really cool premise, you've got really interesting characters, you've got really sick soccer moves, and then you get to season 2 and you're like, where did it all go? And I don't want to discourage anybody from watching it or like partaking in it, because like I've read a huge chunk of the manga and it's very good. And it's upsetting that it's getting a really bad anime adaptation, but read it,
Yeah,
watch it anyway.
yeah. Read it, watch
I
it.
think I can't remember the manga's name, but his 2-page spreads are incredible. I think that a lot of the show, even in season 1, really wasn't doing justice to the way that he draws, and the kind of like puzzle piece motif that's kind of throughout the show. So definitely don't not watch it, but I set your expectations
Yeah,
for
keep in
season
mind.
2.
Last thing I'll say about the about it is I saw a clip where they literally used what looked like a PowerPoint, like the flip page transition, and I was
Yeah.
like, okay, like other stuff I could like get behind. I could be like, maybe there's animation cuts so that later it's really cool, but then I saw the folding page and I was like,
No.
no.
It's just a weird direction.
Mhm. Speaking of anime to set your expectations, this is a question I think I've wanted to ask you before, but this is just like the
Hmm.
perfect time to ask you. Do you think SAO, Sword Art Online, for anybody who doesn't know, which I would be surprised if somebody watching this didn't know, was SAO overly hated?
I think so. Yeah. I used to be a part of the hater club. I'm not gonna pretend like that didn't exist. Even if my Twitter is deleted now, so you can't
You
go
can't
back and
prove it.
quote me.
Can't prove it.
um, I think it was one of those things that like it really defined a genre in a way that is means that people look at it as kind of like the blueprint. And but as a blueprint, it's okay for me personally, right? it really wasn't what I wanted it to be as a show, but that doesn't mean it's a bad show.
Mhm.
I think that just kind of the way that it was presented and the way that like this especially because like that was back when Crunchyroll advertised it like crazy back in
It
like
was
2014.
everywhere. It was
It was
everywhere.
everywhere. And so it's just like this really cool action anime. And then like it kind of turns into like a little bit of like a family romance thing. And
And
I, I didn't watch a whole lot of romance back then. Again, this is when we needed Kuroko's basketball to have superpowers for me to watch it. I very much just kind of like I was watching Dead Man Wonderland, Attack on Titan. It was a very
Mhm.
specific type of like violence and story that I was looking for back then. So Sword Art didn't hit for me. But I did see someone discussing it recently that said that the books were incredible and that the show itself, when the adaptation took a lot of Kirito's personality away to kind of, I guess, allow him to become a self-insert for people that are watching, and that it kind of took away from the story. And
I
so,
sorry, not to get you. As somebody who has read it, I would agree with that.
mhm,
Also, I think it's Reki Kawahara is the author. Has been. I don't know if they're still putting them out, but they're putting out. It was sort of online something. I'll have to go look. But it was not alternative. Was it alternative? Maybe. Either way, it was
maybe.
just basically expanded upon everything they didn't get to put in the original books, because the books were had to be like rushed out for a contest or something.
Oh, yeah. I since I didn't really like pay attention to the source material, and I'm not really a very big like gamer leveler anime person, right? Like it's funny, I love leveling and playing video games, but like I don't want to watch someone else play a video game as like their main story, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
Sword Art, Shield Hero, solo leveling, like that genre does not speak to me. But I get why it's popular. And a lot of the times out of context, it looks cool and sounds cool. But I think that Sword Art just kind of became an easy dunking
Yeah,
place for a
easy
lot of
to,
people
because it did
because
do
one,
some
it
stuff that
really,
was not great.
yeah, and like, but like, it's not like they do anything worse than some other stuff, right? Like,
Right.
especially when you watch like all these like summer isekais come out every year that are just like, I'm a
Not as
doctor who
great.
takes care of monster girls in this monster girl universe, and you're like, I already know this is gonna be heinous. Um,
I found it, by the way. It's sort of online progressive.
and but it's also like one of those things where like it doesn't have like things don't have to be good to be enjoyed,
Right.
right?
That's why I love
They,
my anime. It's not very
yeah,
good,
like
but I love it so much.
yeah, if sword art is your guilty pleasure, like that's so valid, right? Like you're like, I actually like that they go from all this like serious online gaming stuff to kind of just being in a house and making a little family. Like I think that's really cute. And you're like, yeah, honestly, it kind of vibes. It didn't vibe with me 10 years ago, but like I get why it vibes. Um,
I don't know if that specifically is why people dunk on SAO so much. The second half of the first season or series is not amazing.
mhm.
Um, but it does a lot of really cool stuff, and like you said, it's the blueprints. It wasn't the first like isekai game thing, but it was kind of like
Right.
it's the takeoff point. It's the one that like hit at the right time with the right,
I think it's
I
just
don't
the
say
one
a
that people know the
generation.
most,
Yeah, it just kind of
right? Yeah.
hit the wave. It caught the wave. It's the one that started the
Oh, I did say that I hated on this, but I actually really liked Tower of God.
wave.
I was like, stupid genre. And they're like, actually, there
Well,
is one
actually,
of these that I like. But yeah,
yeah.
it's that's because
Well, we see
Kevin
the
Penkin did the
improvements.
yeah,
Yeah,
did the
Kevin Bad Kid
the
Bad Goat.
well also like the beginning of Tower of God was written so long ago, holy crap. But it's like one of those genres that has lots of good things within it, but I think that because of the there's so much of it, right? And it's funny that I'm like, oh, there's just so much of it, it's all the same. And you could arguably say that about sports animes,
Yeah,
right? But when where it works in one place, sometimes it doesn't work in another. And I think that's valid across all genres.
yeah. Because
Um,
like, for example, I really enjoyed Shield Heroes, like the way he leveled his shield and had like the trees and whatever. Other stuff
yeah.
aside, if that show hadn't done some other stuff, I probably would still be watching it just for like the game part. But
Hmm.
there's some other stuff going on in that show I don't really like want to watch or care for. So we're here. But did you know that the SAO real time account tweeted about SAO ending? It
No.
was like, I want to say a month ago or something, a couple months ago. Yeah, they tweeted out the servers are shutting down. X number of people have survived. This many people died. It was
Oh.
like on the day, like in the story where it would have ended. They tweeted it out.
I think I did see people making jokes about that online. That's actually really cool,
Yeah, it was.
all things considered.
I was like, you know, for as much as people like to clown on Sword Art Online, like it did a lot of really cool things and did a lot of good in a lot of areas. So I
Yeah, I think
think
if you're still clowning on Sword Art in 2024, like find a new hobby.
go outside,
There's
literally
others.
beat the game.
Literally find anything else to hate on,
Yeah.
right? I'd rather hear more bad Jujutsu Kaisen takes than for someone to be like, "Ugh, this is terrible," and you're like, "The show came out like 10 years ago, man. Let it go."
Hmm. Talking about manga and reading and stuff, are we still doing Shonen Jump plugs? Is
I
that
will always shill Shonen Jump.
that's my
For
favorite?
anyone who doesn't know,
Come on,
for
get
only
where's
three.
the copy pasta?
Yeah, can you leave me alone? Let me do it. Did you know that for only $3 a month you can access the Shonen Jump digital library?
Wow, how many titles are in the Shonen Jump digital library?
I actually don't know. They always say
It's a
thousands of
lot. It's a
chapters
lot.
instead of how many. I used to have a spreadsheet. I don't think I'm logged into that email on my on this PC. Um, well, okay, so it's really complicated the way that they did it because obviously Shueisha is the one that makes the Shonen Jump magazine. And so, in order to have it printed in English, that's owned by Viz. So Viz has Shonen Jump, and then the Viz has their own Viz app, which is their non-Shonen Jump stuff. And then Shueisha has a Manga Plus app that's also available to read through.
Oh.
And then because all of those titles kind of have cross-pollination, you'll see, like Jujutsu Kaisen in all three places, and then like where do you want to pay to read it? Um, so it's a little complicated, but I promise that it's really not that hard. Um, and if the Shonen Jump manga about making manga for just Shonen Jump taught me anything, the best way to support a mangaka is to buy physical volumes of their books. Um, obviously through the apps, who knows what's happening to your $3, your $5, whatever. So like if you want to keep content, there's no judgment here. I don't think my $2 has ever made it to any of the people that I love at Shonen Jump. Um, but it is one of those things where like it's cool to read the official translations, high scans, and it keeps track of my progress in a way that's good. And I ever since they did the Shonen Jump library, I have partaken. And then when Viz did their library, that was also very good. If you liked anything from Shoujo Beat, you'll probably find it on there. You can read Nana. Um,
Not
so I
sponsored,
just
by the
like,
way.
yeah, not I'm not sponsored. I'll keep giving Jump my money because they keep Shonen Jump literally looked at me like 2 years ago and was like, "Do you want a sports romance manga?" And I said yes. And then they gave me
Oh
a Rakugo
no.
manga, and I said, "Oh, thank you." So as long as they keep generating content that's up my alley, I'm gonna keep giving them my $3. But it's just a way to have accessible legal manga. Not to say that the official translations are better than fan translations. I think for especially Haikyuu specifically, the fan translations are often better. Um, but if you want to know where to read something, I will always help people find stuff.
Always. That not to keep talking about like like random gifts or whatever, but I still it hurts me to this day that I got Dino a pillow that had one of their tweets
Oh yeah, here, I can read it. Hold on.
verbatim. Oh, cool.
Where's my pillow? It's on my couch. I'm glad I have a wireless headset so I can stand up.
This
It
is the
says,
greatest gift I've ever given.
yeah, it says, I'm crying over. I love that you gave me a black pillow too because it matched my couch perfectly. So like, if it's just sitting in the middle, like people just walk by and then they stop and they go, wait a second. It's very subtle. Um, it says, I'm crying over manga panels and you could be too because for only $2 a month you can access the Shonen Jump digital library. And then I think the day after I got this, they raised the price from 199 to 299.
It was like it was either like right after it shipped, so I couldn't fix it, or like within days of you receiving it, the price
Yeah,
increased, and I was
I think I received
tragically
it
sad.
I think I received it like 16 hours after they announced the price increase, and I just remember being like, "Oh no, he ordered this so long ago."
Yeah, it was great. Okay, cool. So
Uh,
I can remain a Shonen Jump plug if people ask. Uh,
it's a it's
this
a
is
it's a it's good.
yeah. I'm gonna send you a
Yeah.
picture of something I found. It's
Mm-hmm.
official. Uh, this is not on our question, so you won't know this. But this, I saw this on Amazon the other day,
Surprise question. Oh yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
I wanted to see
Maria,
if you had heard about it.
absolutely. One, Jake stays up to date on comics. He would never let me miss out on this. Uh,
uh,
but also Maria said that she had seen it. So I was familiar with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Naruto. Um, I
this
haven't
came
gone
out
and bought a
recently,
copy yet.
so
Yeah, no, it like the first issue dropped like less than a week ago, I believe.
yeah. I saw the.
The
I
art looks
found
good.
this. Yeah, it looks good. The reason why I found this is because somebody tweeted a pic, or like I saw it came across my feed somewhere, Twitter, Blue Sky, somewhere, of Do you care if I talk a little bit about the spoilers or no?
Yeah, I mean I'm fine.
Okay.
I'm sorry, you're not gonna
Yeah,
spoil the
no, just
riveting story of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Naruto.
it was a picture of Kakashi talking to Splinter and the Ninja Turtles like they knew each other, and I was really confused. I was like, "Wow, this is
Oh my
really
god.
great fan, like a fan, whatever." And then someone's like, "No, this is real," and I was like, "No way!" And I found that.
Yeah. It came out November 24th. No,
So
my
yeah,
my favorite thing is that like obviously when we read manga, like it's all in like grayscale. So like getting like actual comics Naruto is really cool.
yeah, I,
Um
I would recommend picking it up just so you do more stuff like this because it's really funny.
yeah.
I think
Yeah,
it's
go
nice.
to
If
your
you like
local
Naruto,
game
you'll pick it
store.
up. Yeah.
The downside the downside to collecting comics is that like you got to go every week,
Yeah.
right? Right? And like
I just don't know where to start for like DC. Like I want to get into like Batman comics and stuff, but I also don't want to like. There's so much
okay,
stuff.
not to plug the DC app.
I have already looked into it. I was gonna send it to you like a verbatim of like you tweet about Shonen Jump, but about the DC app, and then say, "Is this accurate?"
Yeah, listen, I use the DC and the Marvel app. And I like both of them. The DC app is really nice because it'll let you pick like a character that you like and then kind of give you a starting point, which is really nice. The hard part about breaking into comics is that obviously they've changed the universes and the continuity many times, and like no one real like most people don't want to start at the very very beginning, right? You don't want to go back to read like 70s Batman. It'd probably be really painful. Um, it's like when you read classic Deadpool, it's awful. It's not funny. Those
Yeah.
jokes did not age. Um, and so it's not really like a where should I start? It's where do you want to start? Like what do you want to
Hmm.
read about? Like I kind of jumped in on Batman because I really cared about all the different Robins. And so I wanted to read those storylines. And that was just a matter of figuring out where those started and jumping in. Cuz like you know enough about Batman from just watching a couple movies and like you don't really need to see the beginning, right? And of course
Yeah.
there'll probably be some like small spoilers or like, like Easter eggs and stuff that like might go over you because you don't have the additional context. But like that was the whole point of comics is that they were supposed to be kind of accessible and jumping in at certain points.
And it's just that
So
there's so much now.
do not be afraid of getting into comics. The apps are very user friendly. Like the only thing they don't do is give you access to like the brand new stuff because they want you to go and buy the
Buy
physical
it.
issues from your
It's
from your local
crazy.
comic book shop. Um, but also you don't actually have to get into Marvel and DC. There's plenty of like other like Image, Vertigo, other comic series that kind of have standalone series that you can get into. Um, which is kind
Webtoon
of an
is where
easier.
I've been mostly for comic adjacent things.
Yeah. And so it's like if you don't want to have to tackle the big superheroes and those universes, you can find like a smaller 30 issue series to like, oh, this sounds interesting, right? Because they all have different plots and premises, right? It's more than just. It's kind of like how we were like, oh, anime has this thing about 15th century Poland, right?
Yeah,
Comics probably
exactly.
have their equivalent, right? It doesn't have to be superheroes,
Hmm.
even though superheroes do have cool stories. And I will say that if you haven't read Ultimate Spider-Man, it's very good, especially when we get to Miles Morales.
Have you
Um,
have you read this is I think it's webtoon only, but I know they have a print version. It's the Wayne Family Adventures, I think.
absolutely.
I love
I
that.
love
When you said
I
I love
love them so
Robins, I was
much.
like, you have to.
Yeah,
I
that's
assumed
yeah,
you
that's what I
knew,
was
but I was
reading.
like, I have to
I
be
was reading
sure.
Wayne Family Adventures, and I said, I love all of the Robins, and so we started reading
It's
Robin
so good.
comics. Um,
Uh, that's like when I don't even remember what it was, but it was something was tweeted or revealed, and I sent it to you, and I was like, I'm pretty sure like 8 other people have also sent this to you or are going to send this to you, but I wanted to make sure. I do that a lot with like random stuff. I'm like, oh cool.
oh,
I did it
I
for
would rather people send me stuff than for them to go, oh, someone's already probably sent it, and then I miss it.
yeah, that's what I
You're
did
like, I will keep
for
saying I'm so excited,
yeah.
even if I'm copy pasting the same response. I'm like, yes, thank you.
Yes, I did it for Cora for a Madoka Magica movie. I was like, hey,
Hmm.
here's this, and they're like, yeah, someone said this to me about 4 minutes ago, and I was like, cool.
It
I
was
have to make
probably
sure
me.
it was probably you, but I didn't. I was like, there's a million people who know that
I think
Cora
we're
likes
also
it.
getting a Madoka Magica game. That's
Oh, interesting.
hmm.
Well, we're a little over an hour, so I'm gonna move on to our last couple little bits here.
Okay.
You've recently you mentioned it, that you're kind of you shut down your Twitter,
Hmm.
understandably, but how has the move to Blue Sky been?
Blue Sky feels a lot like old Twitter does, or did. I I started tweeting in 2009. And right now, I think that like I guess what a lot of people are probably feeling is that a lot of social media just kind of feels like advertisements, or like TikTok kind of feels a lot like QVC. And because Blue Sky
Wow,
isn't as
what is it? What a
heavily
read.
yeah, it's bad, dude.
Yeah.
And at least on TikTok, it's pretty. They mark stuff where it says creator earns commission, so like you pretty much know when something's an ad. I think that what happened with a lot of social media is that things weren't being appropriately tagged as ads, but you could tell that they were ads. And then it just kind of feels like I don't want to feel like all I am is a consumer. Like I want to consume jokes and my gotcha content and my gaming content and like cute cats and stuff, right? Like there's multitudes here, right? I will spend money on the things I like, but I don't want it to always just feel like everyone's just trying to figure out where I can spend my money.
Yeah. Like
Um
they're squeezing every penny out of
yeah,
your
you're like
fund.
I want to see what my friends are saying, and I want to see what the people that I like find genuinely interesting on the internet, like those parasocial relationships, also are doing, right? We should be able to do both, and I think Twitter lost that a long time ago. And Blue Sky is nice because it has. I think people are using the For You page version of that a lot more than they did on Twitter, just because Twitter discovery really didn't feel like a thing. It felt like people only really ever discovered people off of retweets, and if you like had mutuals. But like on Blue Sky, you'll just show up on someone's For You page and they'll just like favorite your stuff and move on because we're still kind of in that discovery phase. And I also like the
Sorry.
sorry.
Go ahead. No, I was just say that happened to me,
Let's
but you keep going.
yeah, and then like the way they have the feeds, right? Like I have the Kirko's basketball feed. So if anybody talks about Kirko's basketball, I can go to that feed and I can look at what they're saying. And same with like other interests that I have. And so then if I talk about it, I'll show up in those feeds. So I think that those things are really cool because it's almost like an amalgamation of like having like your different Reddits, right?
Hmm.
On just different timelines without it being like, I don't know, Reddit.
Yeah, you're not on Reddit.
Yeah. Um and then like it's just cool to be able to like check it and then suddenly see that like someone didn't have to retweet you to like get your content like twice as many likes as normal. And the fact that my engagement was pretty much equivalent to Twitter when I had like 3,000 people following me on Twitter and I have like 80 on Blue Sky, I was like, that's crazy. I was like, I don't know if like just like the visibility is different or just like how many dead accounts on Twitter were following me. Like I don't it's just wild to see that like it didn't really feel that different to shift. And after I shifted, I was like, "Oh, I don't really feel like I'm missing people or that people are missing me based off of the way that my engagements look." And I'm also seeing more of the content I want to see on this kind of social media. And I really miss that about Twitter because I didn't really scroll Twitter in like the last 2 years. I like got on for Valentine's Day and then just disappeared for a year, and
Greatest day of
that
the
was
year
pretty.
because of you. I love that. It's my favorite tradition.
Yeah, for for our new friends, back in 2016, I started giving out Valentines on Twitter because people were tweeting about like, "Where's my wife?" or just wish I had someone for Valentine's, and so I was like, everyone's gonna be my Valentine, and that kind of became a thing that grew into this monstrosity. And now Nick ghostwrites my a lot of my Valentines for me
And
because
I put some
we
good
made
ones in there. I get some
yeah, you made some
bangers.
great ones. That's what you should put in the background behind us is just all of the Valentines
Just
I've ever made.
just like a
Just a
PowerPoint
slideshow. Yeah,
slideshow.
I
Oh, I
think
would have
last
to.
year I think last year we made 250.
Yeah, it was
The
a
year before
lot.
that I think was the first year that we broke 200. But those early years, I was just like finding ones online, like the stupid ones where it's like a SpongeBob meme or something, and it's like I don't actually have a SpongeBob meme off the top of my head. Um,
The only
or like
SpongeBob
you're
meme I
one
can
it,
think of
you're
anymore is
yeah,
the
you're
sassy one.
listen, we don't worry about Valentine's until January. But it'd be like you're one in a melon and it has a picture of a melon, right? And you're like
Yeah.
those kind of like dinky ones. And so it finally got to the point where I had to start making my own. And then I also had that problem where I was accidentally giving people the same Valentines back to back years, and that felt bad. So now I have a spreadsheet to make sure that people don't get repeats while also retiring ones that we've made, making new ones. Like it's a whole production and it's wonderful that Nick helps me every year. Like we've already been like talking about it for next year, which it
I've already
feels
hopped in
insane
and
to
made a
say.
couple, so and like
Yeah,
given
like it feels
ideas.
like it feels crazy to say, but like it feels like the last couple of years I just kept putting it off, and then it'd be like February 1st, and I'd go, all right, I've got 14 days, and then after like 7, I'd be like, I can't make a single pun. I'm tapped out. There are no more puns in the universe. Like there no jokes.
Luckily for you,
Um,
I love making puns and really bad jokes, so
yeah,
I
yeah,
was
it's
I was killing it last year. I don't think I could top it. I don't think that was like my MVP performance. My career is now on the downcline. I don't think I could be that funny this year. It's gonna be
yeah, I
hard.
hope we can. We're gonna have to pull it off. It's funny because before what we were doing is I would give like a pun that I would find online, and then we'd try to think of a show that it applied to, and then I got to the strategy of finding low quality anime images, and then I would put those in a spreadsheet, and then have Nick just like shit out ideas to try to like find funny ones that made sense with what the image was, which I definitely think helped a lot better for creativity. Um,
Yeah, I think making
and
them
I
not
think
entirely show related was a good idea. Like
yeah,
in
it
the post clarity, I think it was a great idea.
yeah, when I'm like stressed trying to make six, we're like, okay, I'm at 178 out of 250. And then like a few hours later, okay, I'm at 184 out of 250.
Oh man, it's a source of pride for me since last year, thinking about doing them this year, that you had to tweet out about how uh if there's a May joke in here, there's a high chance it wasn't me. Is you don't understand how like I was like, yes, I did
Oh yeah.
it.
I can find them for you and send them to you so you can put them on screen. There's a couple that Nick made that when I was reading them, I said, "No, this is the funniest thing I've ever seen," and I'm so mad that I didn't think of this joke because they were so perfect. Because it's like obviously N- I Nick gets credit for the stuff that he writes, and that's reiterated multiple times on Valentine's Day. But I think that people often forget that I have a ghostwriter, but it is absolutely insane how well Nick ghostwrites for me in a way that's kind of embarrassing. You're like, I really would say something like that, wouldn't I? Right? Like it's
Some of them were just direct quotes, basically.
yeah, you're like, oh man. To be loved is to be seen, right? Like
Yeah.
it feels it feels so silly, but it's also so nice because again, kept putting off this hobby activity thing that I love doing, and it's so much fun, right? Like the fact that people get so stoked for it feels really good, and it's definitely one of those things that like doing it and like the whole process of creating everything is so much fun, even if I put it off to the last minute. But absolutely having like a partner in crime has changed the game the last few. In addition to me making my spreadsheet, it's like the spreadsheet was
Spreadsheets.
the first thing that I needed, and then I like tried to get a bunch of ghostwriters, and then every year now it's just Nick going, "All right, are we ready?" And I'm like, "Yes."
This year I was asked to remind you early, so I did.
Yeah, well, we it's funny because I like started doing some stuff back in like July, but I was like not seriously. But in the last few weeks, I've retired probably like 50 Valentines that they've been used too many times. We're moving on because I think that like there's those things where it's like, oh, the joke could probably get put on a different Valentine and still be good. but I also have years where like it'll be a very specific joke for a very like for a
A
person based
specific
off of like an
person.
inside joke, and you're like you can't use those again, right? They just get put away and all of their glory.
You can never
Um,
use that one witch from Mercury joke for anyone else ever again.
yeah, I got to use it one other time, and now it's gone.
Yeah.
But we have lots. I have lots of good ones.
I enjoy making them and getting to help you out because it's a lot of fun. I get to hang out with one of my favorite people and make horrible jokes on low res anime
They're
pictures.
so
Like
terrible.
it's
I love
great.
I love looking if people look at our like if they look at the jokes that actually get made into Valentine's and are like, oh, these are terrible, and you're like, bro, you should see the ones that don't make the cut, dude. Because sometimes I look at the spreadsheet and I'm like, what were
Ooh,
we
yeah. What were we
thinking? Was
thinking?
this like a 2 a.m. funny thought? And
This was
but
us draining every bit of funny
you just
that
I
we
can feel myself
could.
wringing my brain out sometimes. But this year, especially with the move to Blue Sky, like a lot of people that I followed originally on Twitter didn't move or aren't moving. So it looks like we're gonna have a much smaller list. But what will likely happen is that a lot of people will show up on the day of and be like, "Where's Dinopillow? Where's my Valentine?" And then find out that I moved.
Too bad.
Um,
Should have moved.
and so we're just gonna have a I'm gonna have a lot that aren't assigned to people, which is really new for me. Normally, I have everyone's made and assigned by Valentine's, so that basically at 9 a.m. I just
You start
start the
tweeting.
day, and it's just an entire thread. So this next year will probably be a lot of making stuff on the fly, which is honestly kind of fun too, but definitely like drags out the process. But I
Yeah,
think the last 2 years it has been just 10 hours of straight tweeting.
which
It's
was
gross,
crazy. Yeah, but for
but a lot
anyone
of
who
fun.
doesn't understand the scale, like we'll have people tweeting out, "Oh boy, I can't wait for tomorrow. It's Dino Pillow Day." Like people get really excited. So
Yeah,
it's
it
a lot
was
of fun to be a part of that.
it was one of those things that like I didn't realize people were associating Valentine's Day with me. I think I started in 2016, but it probably wasn't until like 2019 where people started actively being like, "It's gonna be Valentine's soon. Dino Pillow's gonna do Valentine's," and I was like, "Oh,"
Oh,
and I went, "Oh," like I was just kind of doing this because I thought it was fun, and then I didn't realize that other people thought it was fun, and then you get people that reach out to you and they're like, "Yeah, actually, I really look forward to this day," right? Like this was one of those things that like I know this is coming from you. And I'm like, "Oh, well now we can't leave the people without their Valentines."
the people. Gotta think of the people.
Yeah, and it's also fun because like obviously when I'm trying to figure out who to assign what Valentines to, I usually go to their actual Twitter and like creep through their feed, and that is usually when I realize how much stuff I've missed because of like, all of the advertisements. So being able to
Hmm.
just like take a look at someone's life for a little bit, like it's really like a way of not only like researching my friends that maybe I don't talk to as often, but like just like looking into someone's life and being like, "Oh, wow, like look at all this cool stuff that happened," or going, "Oh my god, all I do is talk about sports. I don't know this sport. Can I make a
Oh,
joke about it?"
at least mine was like pretty easy because we were both like, "Which Mercury's absolute cinema?" It
Yeah,
was
there's so many
easy.
people where it's very easy, and then there's other people that I'm either like, oh, well, we used to play Halo together like 8 or 9 years ago, and like obviously we're still friends, but it's like they don't watch anime. And I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah,
Or like, what else do we have in common? And then you go look at their likes, but Twitter has likes hidden now.
it's because somebody
But
caught
for a while,
Elon liking titty and he didn't like it.
yeah. So I'd creep through someone's likes, and that's really fun to do. When I could do it.
The last thing I want to talk about the Valentine's is if there was a picture of Gojo and oh shit, I'm forgetting his name.
Satoru?
Yeah, no,
No.
no,
Oh,
his friend
Ghetto.
Geto, uh, Geto, and he and it was. I tweeted this could be us, and you were like, "These people kill people." It got really mad at me. I don't- And my
I was like,
retort
they
was
actually
like,
have a really sad story.
and I was like, "You said it didn't have to make sense to the show." That got put out on Twitter, and people thought that was pretty funny. Like a small look into because it could have been like a conversation on Discord, but instead we were filling out Google Sheets cells to talk to each other.
Yeah, I love updating a Google Sheet in real time with someone. That's always so fun. I'm gonna have to find all those Valentines for you.
I confession I did make a copy of last year's sheet so I could reference it if I needed to. So I didn't know if I was gonna lose access.
No,
I
I
don't
would
know.
never
I
do
don't.
that.
I don't know. So so I do have them. Um, so I can go find some good ones. I can definitely find at least one of the ones I made because it was the Final Fantasy joke.
Yeah, the Final Fantasy joke one lives in my head rent free because that one was really good that you made. Actually, oh god, look, all these look so good.
We killed it last year. Last year was like every joke was just so good. So hoping to help be able to help you make a continue the high quality
Um,
work.
I'm gonna. What's this one? It's you fuel my heart and it's fucking game fuel. Oh no. Oh, these
And
are good.
can you believe we've been uh like hanging out and being buddies for almost 10 years now? Granted, the first like I would say like 2.5 to 3, I was still getting over my horrible social anxiety and was so terrified of accidentally making a parasocial relationship feel weird or something. I wouldn't be like,
Hmm.
hey, and then you'd be like, I don't know you. You know, I was so worried. Because that was when it was getting really big. Like people were really talking about parasocial relationships. So, you know, I have anxiety about talking to people. And then I was
Yeah,
like,
and I think it's better to be more mindful of that than not, right? Especially with like interacting with a content creator on the internet who is more accessible than like right, like you're never gonna like talk to Ninja directly, right? Like that's a lot
no,
that's a lot
no.
different, right? You're just
That
screaming
would be
into the
insane,
void.
by the way.
Yeah, like you're just screaming into the void. But like, when you have a smaller content creator, obviously like they see your name in chat, they get to know you. I mean, like that's how I became friends with Jake is because like that was a name that showed up in my chat a lot. And then when he asked to play a game, it didn't feel weird because like they had already proven that like they weren't gonna just like, come into my chat and say the N word, right? You're like, all right, it's probably a calculated risk that they're not that weird. And he wasn't. We became friends. Um, so like yeah, it's good to be mindful of okay, what kind of parasocial relationship am I in and am I kind of misinterpreting the kindness that I'm receiving from this person, right? Um, and then being like, okay, but like no, they said it's cool or they don't mind or like sure.
Like I said, I was still in that mode of like, I messaged you to join a voice chat that was open to everybody. Like, I was so worried about it.
I
I
do
got
I
over
do
it. I did get over it. Thank God. Working in public for customer service anywhere will help you get over being nervous around people pretty quickly. I would watch
Well,
your
I'm
stream
glad that
at
we were
work, by the way. I'd be like doing groceries, like checking people out, and I would turn and just like watch your stream because it was on my phone.
my God, that's so funny. Don't play me out loud in the grocery store.
You weren't out loud, no.
Oh.
It'd be a lot. I only remember it because I remember working in a store and doing this. I would be like go in your chat and be like, "Hey, I'm here, just lurking because I'm at work at a grocery store or something." You know, like I literally can't hear you. Um,
That's the favorite part when you're when you're talking to people who can't type back or they're just typing to you. They're like, I
like,
can
hey,
say anything right now.
yeah. And I would set it up to where the camera behind me wouldn't be able to see the phone, but could still see the register, so they couldn't accuse me of stealing if something went wrong.
No, it's crazy to think about how many people that have been in my life since I started gaming and like thinking that it has been over 10 years, right?
Yeah.
For just like gaming in general, but like some of the people that I still like talk to on a daily basis and like the girl that I met playing on the PMS forums in 2009 and we've been friends
What?
forever
Real quick,
just
what
had
does that stand for so I can put it on screen? Because it stands for a lot of different things.
Oh, so PMS Clan stood for Pandora's Mighty Soldiers. But PMS Clan was like a Halo 3. They did multiple games, but like it was supposed to be like a all girls
Mhm.
um gamer group essentially where you could find other people to play games with and they had like a whole schedule and like rules and stuff. It was very sweaty, but it was very fun because you were like required to attend specific like a certain amount of events every week or they'd kick you
Mhm.
out. So I used to go to Griff Ball Day and MLG Day.
That's great.
Yeah. And so that's how I met Cora, who I eventually played competitive Halo Reach with, and we've been friends forever. But she just had her second baby, and said baby is named after me, which is really fucking cute.
Yeah, I saw that. I because you mentioned it. I think at some point that somebody was naming a kid after you, and I was like,
Yeah.
the list of people that this could be is very short that I know. Which one is
Yeah.
the most?
It
It's this
feels
one. I didn't even have to like think
if
about it really. I was like, I know who it is.
it feels insane to think about just like I think that's the thing that made stepping away from like to circle back to our first conversation to make leaving content behind was that like I got so much good out of content that like it wasn't about making it. Like it wasn't about money, it wasn't about anything. Like I just wanted to play games online with my friends and I had made so many. And through like Twitter and Valentine's and competitive gaming, right? Like I had completely created just a circle of people that like are wonderful and good and just spending time with them, right? I don't we don't have to share that with everybody. Even if it would be really funny. And I know you guys would all love my friends. uh, but being able to just be offline and be and live with them, right? And so that's it's crazy to think about, right? Or to like be able to like support you in your content now, right? Just as you supported me in my content, right? Like that's a fun circle to make. Um, and so
And I appreciate it. And
yeah,
I'm trying to figure out how to uh like it's I never thought when I was making friends online and stuff that I would make a friend that I could not actively like play games with and still be like have them be so important to like I don't know my day like not my daily life but like my life in general. Because I'll talk to
yeah,
my significant other and I'll be like, oh, I saw Paige posted their new PC. It looks really sick. I'm glad they're doing well. Like it's weird. I never like 10 years ago. If you told me that I would have a friend for this long over the internet, and then we would
it's
become.
crazy.
It was it's just insane, really.
It's
Uh,
kind of like how I met I got to meet Jake like 2 summers ago for the first time. Like we watched all of Naruto together online. Like we sat and watched well we watched Shippuden. We watched Shippuden all online together. And I finally met him for the first time in real life. Like 2 summers ago. He was like, "Hey, I'm gonna be on your side." He's like, "Can I come by?" And I was like, "Absolutely, dude." And it's crazy to think about like these like deep friendships that you have that either like sometimes you haven't seen the person in real life and been in the same place, or like you're just kind of like we were mutuals and then we became friends and then we shared memes and then we hung out and here we are. Like it I love the internet for a lot of reasons and I hate it for a lot of other ones.
yeah.
Um, but it is very cool
Mhm.
that you are a part of my life.
Likewise, you know how much it kills me I didn't get to go to HCS Raleigh that couple years ago. It just was like the worst possible timing for me. I would have
Yeah.
gone. I was like, dang, and I know who's gonna be there because everybody in the Halo community was there. I knew people who were
It
traveling
was
from
pretty fun.
yeah, a lot of people from way far. So if I ever get to your neck of the woods, I will definitely let you know. But I don't have family. The only place I have family is in like one other state and where I am now. So I don't
I
really
do be
have
like
a
that.
have a
Traveling is expensive. I don't blame you on
yeah
that front.
yeah. Traveling is also really expensive. But I'm gonna go ahead and
That's
close
okay.
this out here. We are a little over an hour and a half. Gives us plenty of conversation for everybody to listen to. So for anybody who has made it this far into the podcast, wherever you're watching and or listening, hope you have a great morning, evening, breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and we will see you guys next time.